and welcome to Autism Exchange, the show where two Aspies share the things they're obsessed with. I'm ForceWave.
And I'm HubPie, and Autism Exchanging is just another aspect of the life of the average Aspie.
You're goddamn right. So today's episode of Autism Exchange is going to be a little different, because this time Hub isn't actually playing anything. He's just going to listen to me describe something to him.
He saved me the trouble of playing stuff.
Yeah, so up until now, for my half of Autism Exchange, I've been having Hub play through the Metal Gear saga, and we got from Metal Gear 1 all the way to Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. At least in terms of games directed by Hideo Kojima.
Yes.
The next main entry of the series Hub's going to play is Peace Walker, but for these next two episodes, we're going to take a bit of a detour. Yeah, we're still trying to catch me up on Ruby, so we figured we could just crank these out because they don't require as much effort.
They don't require you to make a big-ass guide of things I should look out for.
And we're not as much of a time investment on your part because Peace Walker and the Phantom Pain take fucking forever to get through, especially the Phantom Pain, whereas you're not playing this game, and the next game is very short.
Yeah. Besides, I could spend all that time playing Sons of Liberty and Snake Eater over and over again.
Which you have been doing.
Yeah, I actually just recently finished the hard mode run of Sons of Liberty, and goddamn, there was some bullshit in it.
It's weird seeing Solid Snake die, like you're the one who has to protect Snake.
You know what? Those sections didn't give me much trouble. The only time I died was when Snake actually killed me by kicking me in the face.
What?
So the one time I died in that section, it was because Solid Snake killed me.
Dude.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that.
I think that's what every dude bro in the early 2000s wanted to happen.
Who the fuck is this gay-ass writing? Give me my snake.
So as most of you know, I'm sure, the core theme of the Metal Gear series is what we pass down to future generations. And for Hideo Kojima, he's been trying to pass down the Metal Gear series, at least since Metal Gear Solid 2.
From what you told me, yes. Ever since Metal Gear Solid 2, he's been trying to say, okay, I've made my word on this franchise, now it's time for someone else to take in the reins while I do my own thing. But for one reason or another, the franchise just kept reining him back in. It's like, no matter how many times he tried to leave, he'll be here forever. Remember, you're here forever!
Here's a quote from Hideo Kojima during a live interview with Jeff Keighley at the University of Southern California in 2011. Even after I die, I would love to see the Metal Gear Solid series continue. But as a creator, of course, I want to do something new. I don't want to be limited to Metal Gear forever. I try to hand Metal Gear off to other people within the studio, and I've tried to raise people up so that they have the ability to take over. But for some reason, it just never really works out, and I end up having to step in again to take charge. So yeah, due to developmental problems, Kojima had to jump back in on Metal Gear Solid 3. Originally, Shuyo Murata was set to direct Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Shuyo Murata was Kojima's co-writer since Metal Gear Solid 2. But then he got fucking death threats, and so he got reeled back in because of that.
And you know what? Considering Metal Gear Solid 4's reputation, part of me thinks that the detractors would have preferred Hideo Kojima not work on it, but who knows?
So yeah, Kojima seems to have problems with stepping away from Metal Gear, but it's not for lack of trying. For example, there's been a number of non-Kojima developed Metal Gear games over the years that were kind of like a testing ground to see if the younger team could handle a Metal Gear game without Kojima's guidance. Of course, there was Snake's Revenge for the NES, which it's an interesting case study in what the series would be like if Kojima never got back into the director's chair. Because Solid Snake looks like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, like a generic, beefy, muscle man soldier.
It just sounds like this would have been like, what if Metal Gear had a movie in the 1980s?
It would have just been a generic military game a la Call of Duty, rather than the sprawling anti-war epic that we know the series as today. You know, a game that actually tries to say something rather than just be a fun game that you play and then forget about.
Because Kojima likes to leave his players with something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Snake's Revenge is just like, well, he's getting revenge. On what exactly? Who knows? Could be anything. It could be Bennett from Commando, given the Arnold Schwarzenegger resemblance.
So then, when Kojima made Metal Gear 2, of course he ignored the continuity of Snake's Revenge. He wanted to make a true sequel to Metal Gear 1. Then, years later, he started working on Metal Gear Solid 1, which is the third game in the series. The game, of course, became very popular, and what was also popular at the time was the Game Boy system. So Konami decided to commission the creation of a Metal Gear game for the Game Boy Color. This game would go on to be known as Metal Gear Ghost Babel in Japan, and then localized in the West as Metal Gear Solid, because, branding.
I gotta ask though, did that help in the overseas marketing because Metal Gear Solid was such a big title for the PlayStation, and people thought it was a handheld version of it?
I don't know if the name change helped sales, but what did help sales was its amazing review scores. The game got a 10 out of 10 from GameSpot. Higher than the PlayStation game. Yeah, amazingly, despite not being directed by Hideo Kojima, Metal Gear Ghost Babel is actually pretty goddamn good, especially given the hardware. And this is thanks in part to director Shinta Nojiri. He, along with Tomokazu Fukushima, the writer of the optional codec conversations for Metal Gear Solid 1, crafted an original story that took place out of continuity, and so because of that, it's a game that's able to stand on its own. It follows the canon of Metal Gear 1 and disregards everything else.
So what you're saying is there's a multiverse?
Yeah, kind of. I really wish Ghost Babel was made available on the 3DS Virtual Console, so that more people could play it. Of course, you can emulate it, but that's a big no-no to Nintendo.
Emulation? You mean stealing?
How dare you try to play games that are highly impractical to play legally? You should spend over $100 on authentic cartridges that don't support the original developers anyway.
Hey Konami, when are you ever gonna give Nickelodeon the rights to release the old Ninja Turtles games you made? I would buy that shit in a heartbeat. But no, we can't have that because Konami doesn't give a shit about gaming preservation. Unless you're Castlevania, I guess.
That being said, the game's story is kind of vanilla. It's not going to change your life or anything like Kojima's games would.
Only Kojima has the power to change the world with Metal Gear.
Well, that's not what I'm saying, but what I am saying is, here, I'll have a well-known fan say it. I still think Ghost Babel is good, as it had its own original story. It still felt like Metal Gear, even without any theme. It was just good in every way. So yeah, that's what Metal Gear fans want. They just want an okay story without any themes.
Wow, that's actually kind of depressing.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this to be relevant in a bit.
Shinta Nojiri would later go on to direct Metal Gear Acid 1 and 2, which I hear is also pretty good. I've only played a bit of Acid 1, and the gameplay is not really for me. But, they have their fans. The second game especially looks interesting because it has a cel-shaded art style.
From what I understand, those games are called Metal Gear Acid because I guess the story is on acid or some shit.
Yeah, Acid 1 involves a couple of puppets hijacking a plane.
Okay. I don't know how to respond to that.
Shinta Nojiri would then be the gameplay director for Act 3 of Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh my god, that was him?
Yeah, you can't win them all.
I mean, that's just the cosmic law of averages right there.
Yep. Later on, Shinta Nojiri would leave Kojima Productions to work on Never Dead. This is his reasoning for this. I jumped to make my own new IP because I think Konami needs new IP. But it's complicated. In Kojima Productions, we have some obligations to make a franchise. My ex-boss wanted me to make games in a franchise, but I didn't think so. So it's like, Kojima was so impressed by Shinta Nojiri's work that he wanted him to take over the series initially, but he said no. So instead, Shinta Nojiri went on to direct Never Dead, and it became such a huge disaster and ruined his career.
The only thing I know about Never Dead was that it was shown off at Konami's amazing E3 2010 press conference.
Extreme.
That's about it.
Extreme.
I've never heard of the game outside of that. No, Extreme is 99 Nights 2.
Matt McBustle did a video on it where he just played the game, and it's a giant piece of shit, it looks like. Now, to be clear, I don't think that's Shinta Nojiri's fault. Konami had a game outsourced to this rinky-dink developer called Rebellion.
That name sounds familiar.
I think they worked on the Alien vs. Predator series.
I never played the Alien vs. Predator games, but I've heard the name before.
They also made Judge Dredd, Dredd vs. Death.
I think I've seen a review of that, actually.
It's a very mediocre shooter, but it's fun to play through if you like the Judge Dredd universe.
I have no experience with the characters, so I guess it's just gonna not mean much to me.
Oh, watch the fucking Carl Urban film. It's fantastic.
Well, you're saying the Sylvester Stallone movie isn't Kino?
No, it's not.
Okay, well, if I was a bigger fan of the character, I'd probably get why that movie is so hated, but I just love it on such a meme-tastic level. It's not a good film, but on an ironic way, it really is to me. But we're not here to talk about Judge Dredd. We're here to talk about Metal Gear's adventures without Hideo Kojima.
So anyway, while Kojima was working on Metal Gear Solid 4, a lot of people weren't satisfied with only getting the asset games for the PlayStation Portable. They wanted a quote-unquote true, authentic Metal Gear game. And so Konami had Kojima Productions fart out a cheaply produced game based on a modified version of the Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence engine, with the 3D camera, and it reuses a lot of assets from Snake Eater.
I see we're doing the Capcom thing and reusing assets.
Yeah, and the result was 2006's Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. While marketing Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, this is what Kojima had to say. This is in regards to the connection between Portable Ops and the upcoming Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. If you change the Ops story, you have to change 4. If you change 4, it also becomes necessary to change Ops. Until Ops is finished, 4's story can't be finalized. The implication being that, in order to truly understand Metal Gear Solid 4, you have to buy a PSP and play through Portable Ops.
I see we're doing the Kingdom Hearts method before the collections came out. Hey, you want to experience the whole series and get context for the whole story? Fuck you, buy all these systems and the games along with them.
What do you think about the idea of Portable Ops being necessary to understand Metal Gear Solid 4?
I never really felt like I was missing something from Metal Gear Solid 4's story. I thought it was complete as it was. I never felt like I was in the dark on a lot of things, except for the whole stuff with Dr. Madnar. For some reason, I don't know what the fuck that was about, but other than that, I never felt like I was really kept in the dark, or I was like, am I missing something that requires me to play another game?
We forgot to talk about how weird it is that Dr. Madnar, of all things, was name-dropped in Metal Gear Solid 4.
Well, he's such a fucking passing mention that it's not even worth bringing up.
There is a call with Otacon that someone thankfully data mined and uploaded, where they actually talk about Snake's history with Madnar. Because in that cutscene, Snake didn't react at all, and it's weird.
I mean, this is the same man who saw his brother supposedly come back through an arm from another person, so I guess knowing that a scientist who got fucking a fuck ton of RC missiles shot at his back, survived.
But anyway, back on topic, some people would say, but Hub! Portable Ops is super important. There are cutscene stills from Portable Ops in Metal Gear Solid 4.
Well, sorry to tell you, but I didn't really notice.
What?
I didn't really notice any Portable Ops cutscenes in Metal Gear Solid 4.
But, no, you don't understand. The games are super important and connected to each other.
Okay, then how is Portable Ops connected to Metal Gear Solid 4?
The cutscene stills.
Okay, but what else?
Some would say it foreshadowed the origins of the Patriots.
I always took that, brief mention from Zero and Metal Gear Solid 3, who are the Patriots and Lolly Lule Lo, as some kind of, not de facto origin, but kind of like a hinting of what was to come, especially since the Philosophers became the Patriots, or rather the Patriots were like a reworked version of the Philosophers.
Yeah, a lot of people say that Portable Ops is where it was established that the Fox unit would become the Patriots. But I think what actually happened was Kojima just filled in the Portable Ops team what he was planning to do with Metal Gear Solid 4 so that they could incorporate that into their story. Yeah, I doubt Kojima would allow the B team to decide on such an important plot point. Well, the game does explain how Foxhound was formed.
Yeah, but Metal Gear Solid 3 had that brief moment of them acknowledging, hey, we could use someone like him for our operations. I don't really think we needed a whole game to show that.
That's right, Robert McNamara guy was telling the DCI, hey, we could use a unit like Fox in the Army. Someone who combines the qualities of a soldier and an agent. So, the Army was already interested in making Foxhound. We didn't need a whole game explaining how and why Foxhound was formed, because we had just enough that we could connect the dots on our own. It's kind of like how people really want a game about Liquid Snake during the Gulf War, and it's like, why? Liquid Snake was a great one-off villain. Every time they try to bring him back, it sucks. And every time, it just gets worse and fucking worse.
What, you're telling me you don't want to hear Cam Clark do his fabulous Liquid Snake voice again?
I love Cam Clark, at which Ryan Payton didn't choose Patrick Zimmerman over Cam Clark for Liquid Ocelot in MGS4, even though the Japanese voice actor for Liquid Ocelot was the same one who voiced Liquid Snake, Banjo Ginga.
Yeah, but Patrick Zimmerman was hammy as fuck in Metal Gear Solid 4, so I can kind of excuse it.
Yeah, he did a great job. But the cutscene stills, though.
Is that all you really got?
Yep, that's all they have.
Okay, well, sorry to say, but I think you got gypped, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know why people can't accept that. Sometimes Kojima just says stuff for marketing purposes.
Well, you don't want your product to be, ignored, so if you said something like, oh, well, Portable Ops gives you some information, but you don't need to play it to understand Metal Gear Solid 4, that's gonna make people go, okay, then why get it then?
Here's a quote from Kojima about his inner conflict between being a businessman and being a creator. I'm a creator at heart, but at the same time, I also have to manage the business aspect of it. Figure out how to sell the game. I'm still trying to find that balance. It's very delicate. That's going to play a bigger role in the next episode, but, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, we had to cross the Portable Ops bridge.
Okay, maybe if I explain the story to you, you'll see why this is the most important game in the entire saga.
You gonna go that far?
Some people would say that.
Okay, give it your best shot.
Okay, so the game takes place in 1970. Big Boss has retired after Operation Snake Eater because he's fed up with the US government for obvious reasons. But then Big Boss gets kidnapped while he's walking home, I guess.
He just wanted to watch his soap operas.
Yeah.
But then he got called into battle, goddamn.
So then he's taken to a prison cell in Colombia, the San Geronimo Peninsula. Turns out, Big Boss is accused of leading the Fox unit to stage an uprising against the US government in the San Geronimo Peninsula. Big Boss manages to escape his prison cell, and he meets up with a younger Roy Campbell.
Colonel.
Yep, that one. Together, they steal a truck and make their way across the San Geronimo Peninsula to figure out the truth behind the Fox Rebellion. Eventually, they find out that the real leader of the Renegade Fox unit is a man named Gene.
Wow, Gene Siskel had a crazy career before he met Roger Ebert.
So Gene is a product of the Successor Project. What is the Successor Project? I'll have Gene explain it. It was a top-secret experiment conducted by the US government. Its goal, to create the ultimate battlefield commander. The skills to wage war, the aptitude for strategy, the endurance to return from battle alive, and the charisma to overwhelm and master the hearts of soldiers. My voice is endowed with a special power. Basically, his voice is so charismatic that it kind of has a brainwashing power.
Okay, then. I have no idea how to respond to that, to be honest.
Well, to be fair, it is Metal Gear, so...
Fair.
Gene's plan is to launch a nuke into the Soviet Union, and as Big Boss looks for how he plans to do that, he gets a call from a man named Ghost, who tells Big Boss that Gene plans to use a weapon using designs that came from the Soviet Union. That's right, Gene is in possession of the world's first ever Metal Gear.
What a twist!
Now, this Metal Gear can't actually walk, it just hovers.
So what you're telling me is that someone named Ghost babbled about Gene's intentions.
Yep.
Dab on them.
So Big Boss finds Gene's Metal Gear and destroys it, but it turns out that was a decoy. The real Metal Gear is going to be launched from an ICBM into space, and then launched a nuke from there, which defeats the entire purpose of Metal Gear because the point is, it's a bipedal nuclear launch platform that can walk on any terrain. If you need a missile silo to launch the thing, to launch Metal Gear, why even have Metal Gear in the first place?
This just sounds like Shagohod 2, but with 100% less electricity.
No, this isn't even the Shagohod, because the point of the Shagohod was to be able to launch a nuke without developing a silo. This Metal Gear requires a silo, so why even have the Metal Gear?
Because it looks cool, shut up.
Oh yeah, and Ghost is actually Sokolov. Yeah, somehow he survived having his skull caved in by Volgan's repeated punches.
And surprisingly, the answer doesn't boil down to nanomachines.
Yeah, it turns out he just took a fake death pill, which shouldn't matter because even when he was dead, Volgan kept punching his fucking skull in. You can hear the brain fluids as Volgan is punching his skull in. Ugh.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Metal Gear Solid 4 revealing that Dr. Madnar somehow survived is also dumb.
Somehow, Dr. Madnar has returned.
At the same time, though, the motherfucker handled a shit ton of RC missiles. I'm surprised he survived one.
Nanomachines.
So, there is kind of a basis about how resilient Madnar is, as ridiculous as it is.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, Big Boss tracks down Gene again, and this is when Gene reveals a shocking twist about Operation Snake Eater. It turns out, Colonel Volgan was ordered to fire that nuke into Sokolov's lab, in order to create the series of events that led to the boss's death.
Wait, what? What?
Yeah.
You're telling me Colonel Volgan wasn't just some scumbag that decided to fuck up relations between the East and the West? He was just ordered to do that?
That's what Portable Ops says.
What? What? I can't believe that. You gotta be fucking serious. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Nope.
What? Oh my god, that actually makes me upset.
According to Gene, this was all planned by a single, deviously cunning strategist, which in the game isn't really explained, but it is implied that it was the director of the CIA who planned the boss's death.
Why? Why couldn't she just be loyal to her country?
Why would Volgan take orders from the director of Central Intelligence?
Jesus Christ.
Like, Volgan is a Soviet GRU agent, and the DCI is the head of the American Central Intelligence Agency. How?
I have no goddamn idea. This sounds absolutely ridiculous to believe. Like, if anything, that just ruins a big chunk of Snake Eater. Like, talk about unnecessary.
So then Big Boss kills Gene, but then Gene gives Big Boss a microfilm containing the personnel, equipment, and resources he amassed for his dream of Army 7, which is a nation where soldiers wouldn't be used and abused by their governments. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Big Boss takes the microfilm with him, goes back to the States, meets up with Major Zero, Paramedic, and Sigint, and this is when Big Boss forms the Foxhound unit. Meanwhile, Ocelot confronts the Director of Central Intelligence in the Pentagon. Gene had changed his plans and instead aimed the intercontinental ballistic Metal Gear at the Pentagon. So then this led the DCI to be lured out with the missing half of the Philosopher's Legacy that he kept for himself. Ocelot kills the DCI and takes the other half of the legacy. Then he calls Major Zero and says, "Alright, I got both halves of the legacy now. Now let's call up Big Boss so he can form the Patriots." And that is the story of Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. So what'd you think?
I fucking hated that goddamn twist about Volgan. Is that the thing you said that would piss me off?
Yep.
Oh my god, you were not wrong. Fuck me, I'm actually mad about that.
Yeah, so my dad got me a PSP so I could play Portable Ops and Peace Walker because he knew I was a big fan of Metal Gear and I bought into that bullshit about Portable Ops being important to understand Metal Gear Solid 4. And I thought, well, Snake Eater was my first Metal Gear game, so it'd be interesting to play as Big Boss again. Then I got to that part about Volgin, and I was like, alright, this whole era's ruined. I'm going back to Solid Snake and Raiden.
I'm going back to my Solid Snake. Fuck your naked snakes and your big bosses. I like my Solid Snake.
Now, thankfully, that is not really referenced ever again.
Good, because it's fucking stupid.
The idea that the boss's death was premeditated is kind of alluded to in Metal Gear Solid 4. Here, let me bring up the quote. This is from Big Mama. The boss was a legendary hero from the Second World War, known as the Mother of Special Forces. She had an almost overwhelming charisma about her. The CIA feared this, so they had her eliminated. Doesn't reference Volgin being ordered to fire the nuke, but it does suggest that they planted seeds that would potentially leave the door open to eliminate the boss if they ever see the opportunity for it. Still bad, but it's not as stupid. And then both Peace Walker and the Phantom Pain completely ignores that idea completely. So now it's back to shit hit the fan, the CIA rejigged the plan, and so Snake had to kill the boss to prevent nuclear war. Now, what's interesting is Big Mama said that the CIA had the boss eliminated due to her overwhelming charisma. But then, the US government had the Successor Project, which involved giving synthetic charisma to Jean.
I smell shenanigans.
So, even back then, when Portable Ops was supposed to be canon and wasn't in dispute, unlike now, that Kojima-directed games still contradicted Portable Ops. It's almost as if all that shit Kojima said about not finalizing Metal Gear Solid 4's story until Portable Ops' story was finalized was just marketing bullshit.
Marketing! So, every time you talk about Portable Ops to me, you always talk about how people insist that it's canon.
The annoying thing about that conversation is people seem to have trouble understanding the difference between is it canon and was it ever canon. Because at one point, Portable Ops was intended to be canon. Like, sure, the cutscene stills don't really matter, but they're still there. And there's that scene with Naomi that lists all the games in the Metal Gear series, and Portable Ops is counted among them. So at the time of the game's release, it was meant to be canon. It wasn't until Peace Walker that people started to call shenanigans. Because the game opens up with Master Miller telling Big Boss, finally, we can leave all that crap in San Geronimo behind and break into the mercenary business for real. People unironically use that line to say, see, Portable Ops is canon. It's referenced in Peace Walker. These same people probably believe that Blue Box was involved in some weird Kojima conspiracy. Because oh, Kojima's a ruse master. He always has these hidden messages and plays the long game. But when you have an out-of-place line like, leave that crap in San Geronimo behind, people just take it at face value and don't bother looking deeper into it.
Oh boy, my favorite kind of double standard. If it's something I like, then it's okay, but if it's not something I care about, there must be something fishy about it. I can't wait to talk about this on stuff like Web of Spider-tism. There's gonna be a lot of that shit.
So then later on in Peace Walker, Big Boss recruits Otacon's father. Yeah, I know.
What? Why? Why connect Big Boss and Otacon from that?
I don't fucking know. It's weird.
It just seems really unnecessary to me.
It is unnecessary, but what can you do? So anyway, Big Boss recruits Otacon's dad, and they decide, hey, if you want, I can help you build a bipedal weapon for you. And then Big Boss is like, yeah, sure, whatever. Then Huey's like, well, hey, I think we should come up with a name for this bipedal weapon. Good point. We can't just keep calling it our bipedal weapon. I spoke with Master Miller, and we came up with the name Metal Gear Zeke. As you know, the term Metal Gear was coined by Granin, and Zeke is the name of a World War II Japanese fighter plane. That was Kaz's idea. So, they're acting as if there weren't bipedal weapons called Metal Gear up until Peace Walker. And in fact, there is a timeline released in 2012 called The Truth About Metal Gear Solid, and in the section for Peace Walker, not only does it say that it is the first game in the Metal Gear saga to be on the PSP, it also says that Metal Gear Zeke was the world's first Metal Gear, even though Portable Ops had 2.
Get fucked, Portable Ops, I guess.
And also, at the beginning of Peace Walker, Big Boss is fucking dirt poor. Like, he leads a small band of mercenaries in a leaky shack, even though in Portable Ops he got the microfilm that had all of Gene's resources for Army 7.
For all you know, that crap in Santa Monica could have just been Big Boss and his mercenaries doing some weed or some shit, and then forgetting about it.
Or Big Boss left Gene's microfilm in the wash.
Wait, I think I forgot something in my pants.
And then he knocked his head on something and forgot he fought 2 Metal Gears before.
Metal Gear? I don't remember that bullshit.
There's this guy you sent me, and I watched his review of Portable Ops, and he said, you shouldn't blame Portable Ops for Peace Walker contradicting it. Which, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, these game stories are incompatible with each other, so one has to give. And since Peace Walker was directed by Hideo Kojima, Peace Walker therefore overrides Portable Ops. That's what we're saying. We're not saying it's Portable Ops' fault that it was later retconned. Now, on the other hand, this guy also did a video on the MSX games, and he said that he hopes these games get remade because of all the retcons that later games did to it. So, when it's a game he likes, he's like, no, don't decanonize it. It's Peace Walker's fault that Portable Ops was retconned. But when it comes to games he doesn't really care about, like the MSX games, he's like, yeah, these games should be decanonized and then remade, because later games contradicted them.
I love double standards. I really, really love double standards. I sent you those videos because I used to watch this guy's content, and for the record, I'm not gonna give out who that is because I don't want any of our audience to go and harass this person.
All 2 people.
Yeah, well, you know how some people get.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to give his identity out. Let's just say that I used to really like this guy's content, and when it came to certain franchises that I liked, he was right on the ball with some of them, even if I didn't agree with all of his opinions. But then, when it comes to another franchise that I care about, he proved himself to be completely incapable of separating his biases, which then contributed to my disdain for talking about that particular franchise. And I wanted to share ForceWave his Metal Gear videos because I hadn't watched them. And this is where he decided to bring out one of his rules, which is, what does this person think of Portable Ops?
Well, to clarify, I have 3 guidelines to assess a Metal Gear fan. 1. What is their opinion of Portable Ops? 2. What's their opinion of Metal Gear Rising? 3. What do they think about Solid Snake and Big Boss? If you think Portable Ops is better than Peace Walker, you're on notice. If you think Rising is canon and logically follows Raiden's story, you're dead to me. If you think Big Boss is the true hero of the series and Solid Snake is just a pawn, that's an automatic fail.
For the record, let it be known that ForceWave isn't necessarily trying to gatekeep here. It's just, when you have a franchise like Metal Gear and you see so many people have these crazy misconceptions and crazy-ass takes about it, you kind of start to narrow down the similarities between these kinds of people.
I don't have a problem with people liking Big Boss as long as they acknowledge, yeah, he becomes a villain later on. I don't even mind Big Boss being redeemed at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4. But the saga doesn't make sense if you think Big Boss was the good guy the entire time.
Yeah, that's pretty sus.
Now, along with that bullshit about Colonel Volgin, another big controversy with Portable Ops' story is how it treats Gray Fox's backstory. In Metal Gear 2, Gray Fox had a completely different backstory. He was a half-white from Vietnam who was put in a forced labor camp for being half-white. But then he was rescued by Big Boss. But then later on in Mozambique, possibly while he was with Naomi, he was captured by another group and possibly had his nose and ears cut off. Big Boss rescued him again. This is all thrown away in Portable Ops. Now he was a child soldier in Mozambique in the 60s. Then later on, the philosophers make him a test subject in the Perfect Soldier Project, and turns him into a ninja. Not a cyborg ninja, but he still carries a machete around. And also, he's fucking dull. This is the most blatant retcon in the entire Metal Gear series. I know Metal Gear is famous for retcons, and even if you just go by Kojima's games, it can still be a little messy. But there's enough vagueness there that you can kind of fudge the details enough to make it all connect. Like, for example, in Metal Gear Solid 2, President James Johnson said that Donald Anderson initiating the Metal Gear Rex project was against the wishes of the Patriots, which obviously goes against Metal Gear Solid 4, which says that Donald Anderson was a founding member of the Patriots as SIGINT. But you can just headcanon it to say the Patriots fed James Johnson false information for some reason. I mean, at this point, James Johnson thought the Patriots were 12 guys, not AIs. So him being lied to isn't out of the question. But there's no way to reconcile Gray Fox having completely different memories about Big Boss rescuing him twice.
It's kind of sus. Something is, not matching up here.
Now, as for the rest of the game was released for the PlayStation Portable, which infamously didn't have a second analog stick. Despite this, the game uses the Metal Gear Solid Free Subsistence camera style, a camera system that only worked because the PS2 had 2 analog sticks.
I can imagine that makes for some wonky-ass controls.
Now, for this podcast, I got the game running on my PlayStation Vita. I didn't buy the game off PSN because I'm not giving Konami any of my fucking money for this game. Yeah, I jailbroke my PlayStation Vita. Come at me.
It's your hardware, man. Do whatever you fucking wish with it.
So now I'm playing the game with 2 analog sticks, and unfortunately, despite what many people say, having a second analog stick doesn't magically make the game good.
This is the same energy as Super Mario 64 DS being played on the 3DS with the circle pad, and people say, no, Super Mario 64 DS is way better with the circle pad on the 3DS, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's still very stiff to play because it was made with a D-pad in mind. And fuck you if you think I'm going to be using a fucking stylus and touchscreen to move in a 3D platformer. You're insane if you think that.
It's very stiff, and you still have to hold down a button in order to run, which is not intuitive.
Nope.
And speaking of which, you can't just lightly tilt the analog stick in order to sneak up behind a guard. You either have to hold down a button, which means taking your thumb off the right analog stick, defeating the whole purpose of playing the game on the Vita. Or you can change it to a toggle. But this is problematic because if you try to hug a wall using the same button as the walk-run toggle, you're not sure whether Snake is in run mode or walk mode. Peace Walker actually uses analog running or walking, thankfully. Now, for those of you who for some reason want to play portable ops on the Vita, you can turn off that annoying auto-centering camera. I think what you do is you go into settings and then change the aiming position from player view to camera view. And that turns off the annoying auto-centering camera. The way Portable Ops' missions are structured is you have a map of the San Geronimo Peninsula, and then you can go to different locations. Then you can run around the map, capture guards, get items and equipment, complete objectives, etc., etc. Now, what's kind of lazy is that even if you're in full alert, you can just run up to the goal, and then that's considered mission complete, and you're automatically taken back to the truck.
Haha, touchdown, assholes, I win.
Whereas Metal Gear Solid 3 had stuff like, you can't meet up with Sokolov if you're in alert phase.
You can't meet with Granin if you're in alert phase either.
Yeah. Also, for some reason, the CQC controls just feel kind of stiff. I don't know why that is. It's like, you hold down R1s, but Snake just Vulcan nerve pinches a guard, but it doesn't do anything. You have to press the R button again in order to throw him down. But unlike in Snake Eater, this doesn't automatically knock him out, so you have to hold him up.
Does it still have that satisfying slam sound effect?
I think so.
Good, because I fucking love that sound effect. Nothing's more satisfying than going up to a guard and then, boom, knocking him out.
I think it was highly compressed, though, because PSP.
I don't care, I just like that sound.
Fair. Also, the levels are fucking ugly. Everything is either shit brown or piss yellow.
But Snake Eater had monotonous colors.
No, it didn't. The game looks fucking beautiful.
I'm just fucking around. I don't actually mean that.
Portable Ops is mostly in ugly urban environments. Like, a lot of the levels look like shitty Half-Life multiplayer mods.
I guess it gets very boring to look at after a while.
It honestly makes me feel sick.
Really? You'll go that far?
Yeah, and this isn't even because of the PSP. Peace Walker looks fantastic. Obviously, it's limited by the PSP, but wow, it has color. And even the urban environments are more pleasant to look at. And also, it fixes my problems with the CQC. It's a lot more fluid. But the thing that really makes Portable Ops a fucking drag to play is that in order to recruit people, you have to drag enemies all the way back to your truck. Granted, you can also send other characters across the map, have them hide in a box, then you can drag people to that box as another character, and then use the radio to have them automatically drag everyone back to the truck. But it's still incredibly tedious, whereas Peace Walker and the Phantom Pain streamlines this by just having you attach a Fulton balloon to anyone you want to recruit. Obviously, it's goofy, but again, it's Metal Gear.
So you're telling me you have to drag back every single guard to the van, every time?
You don't have to drag everyone, just like a couple here, a couple there, and after a while, I just don't even bother.
Any benefits to recruiting people, I guess?
You can place people in your spy unit, which is necessary to progress through the game. You can put people in your medical and tech units, and they can develop health items, ammo, and sometimes even weapons for you. It's all kind of random as to what they make. Peace Walker, again, does this infinitely better. It's more like an evolution of the Drebin shop, where you can buy weapons with Drebin points, whereas in Peace Walker, you can decide which weapon or equipment you want developed. Believe it or not, there are some things I like about this game.
What? I thought you hated it with all your being. How dare you like things in something you don't like?
I think the music's nice. I'm not a fan of the main theme as some people, Calling to the Night, but it's a nice song. I also like the voice actor they got for a young Roy Campbell. He actually does kind of sound like a young Paul Eiding.
Anything else?
Big Boss has some cool moments in this game. Like when he's informed that the US government thinks that he's the only one who could possibly convince the Fox unit to stage a rebellion. He's like, done in by my own overblown reputation. That was nice. I think that's it.
Well, I guess you can't win them all.
Some people say that Portable Ops is important because it shows how Big Boss came up with the idea for Outer Heaven because of Gene's Armies Heaven. And to that I say,
no.
Yeah, Armies Heaven is stupid. It's the worst way to do a prequel. With Snake Eater, it showed how Big Boss learned that soldiers are used and abused by their countries. And from there, you can infer this is where Big Boss got the idea that there needs to be a military nation that acts as a home for soldiers. But what Portable Ops does is it has someone else have the same idea as Big Boss, and then Big Boss just takes that idea for himself. So like people say, oh, this is where Big Boss got the idea for Outer Heaven. To which I say, well, okay, where did Gene get the idea for Army 7? Did he fight someone called Meme, who had the idea for Soldier 7? And in that case, where did Meme get the idea for Soldier 7? Did he fight someone called Scene, who had the idea for Mercenary Heaven? It's a stupid infinite regression that doesn't really add anything to the story. And later games in the series don't even mention Gene. Metal Gear Solid 4's explanation for Big Boss coming up with Outer Heaven was his interpretation of the boss's will, which is what Metal Gear Solid 3 implied anyway. So again, we're back to what Metal Gear Solid 3 establishes.
This is just proving to me that the people who insist that this game is important just got gypped and just don't want to admit that they got gypped. Like, it's okay, man. It's okay that you got gypped. We all get gypped one way or another at some point. You're not dumb for being gypped, okay? I just don't really see the point, because it doesn't do anything to progress the story of Big Boss. In fact, it actually ruins Snake Eater. Like, that's like the worst kind of prequel you can do, is when it invalidates a good story. Because it doesn't add to Snake Eater, it just detracts from it.
There's this one scene in Portable Ops that everyone loves, and I just hate it. There's this character called Elisa, who has a twin sister. They both have ESP powers because of nuclear experiments in East Germany.
I'm pretty sure nuclear experiments don't result in ESP, but whatever, it's fiction.
It's Metal Gear.
Fair.
And so, it turns out, Elisa and Ursula are actually two personalities in one person. It's just that one personality is a more powerful Esper than the other one, Elisa, the good one. So, initially, Elisa defects to Big Boss's side and explains to Big Boss how she and her quote-unquote sister had different visions of the future. Elisa saw Big Boss destroying Metal Gear and saving the world, whereas Ursula saw Big Boss plunging the world into fear. Then later on in the game, Ursula takes over Elisa's body, defects back to Jean, but then Elisa takes over again, this time with Ursula's powers, and tries to fight Jean, but then Jean kills her. And as Elisa and Ursula are dying in Big Boss's arms, they both realize that they both had the same vision. They were both correct. Big Boss will end up destroying Metal Gear and build a new one in its place. Now, the reason this is stupid is because you would think that upon hearing this, upon knowing that his future potentially involves him plunging the world into fear, that would make him reconsider a lot of shit. But instead, all Big Boss says is, "What are you trying to say, Elisa? Elisa!"
Well, we've already established that Big Boss is kind of a dipshit.
I know, but at the end of Metal Gear Solid 3, you're supposed to be more world-weary. You're supposed to grow up a little more. Oh, and by the way, in Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, Big Boss and co. encounter a child Psycho Mantis. And when discussing this with Ocelot, Big Boss is like, "What? Psychokinesis? That's stupid. I thought that was just Soviet disinformation." Even though he allegedly encountered someone with ESP 14 years ago.
Kojima does not care about portable ops.
No, he does not. And in fact, the one thing that made Portable Ops kind of relevant, even after Peace Walker, was it showed how Ocelot got both halves of the legacy for Major Zero. Because originally, at the end of Metal Gear Solid 3, it was kind of implied that the legacy was given to the Director of Central Intelligence, and he would go on to found the Patriots. But then Peace Walker kind of shows what happens to the DCI after Snake Eater. You know, he was like shuffled away to Costa Rica so that he could be all hush-hush about the truth about Operation Snake Eater. And then Metal Gear Solid 5 completely torpedoes Portable Ops by saying that Ocelot was ordered by Big Boss to give both halves of the legacy to Major Zero. Whereas in Portable Ops, Ocelot and Zero got both halves of the legacy without Big Boss's knowledge. That was the whole reason why they orchestrated the San Geronimo incident. Now, as for the canon debate, in 2014, Kojima did an interview with Jeff Keighley, and a bunch of fans submitted their own questions. One of them was, of course, is Portable Ops canon? Kojima admitted that this is a very difficult question to answer. This is the gist of his answer. I didn't write the story, so there's some small contradictions. So, let me put it like this. The main story of Portable Ops is canon, is part of the saga, but the small details are outside of the saga.
So what you're telling me is, there was an adventure in San Geronimo, just not the same one as in Portable Ops.
Perhaps.
That's what I got out of that.
Right, so people isolated that part of Kojima's answer and then celebrated, saying that, yay, Portable Ops is kind of canon. Yay. But what people leave out is the next part of Kojima's answer, which I think is his true answer. Like, you know, earlier in this episode, I talked about business Kojima versus creative Kojima. So the answer I just gave you was his business answer. But the next part of his answer is what I think is his creative answer. To To which he says, rather than saying if it's main story or not, it's more like, within me, things are expressed as a division between those games that I personally designed and produced, those games that are a Hideo Kojima games, from games that I only produced. What do you think of that?
I'm just gonna take that as, no, it ain't canon.
Yeah, pretty much. You can tell Kojima was trying to tiptoe around this question because, he did market the game as being important to the story, so, he can't just back out of it, especially when he's still employed by Konami. So he gave a diplomatic answer, then let it slip his real answer. But then, a year later, Konami's restructuring happened, Kojima Productions was going to be fucking eliminated, and Kojima was on his way out at the end of the year. So at that point, Kojima was like, fuck it. So in a video interview done for IGN, which is when the release date for Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain was announced, Kojima said, I've always said, this will be my last Metal Gear game, but the games in the series that I personally designed and produced, Metal Gear for MSX, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, 4, and Peace Walker, and now Metal Gear Solid 5 are what constitute a single Metal Gear saga. With Metal Gear Solid 5, I am finally closing the loop on that saga. So now that Kojima knows that he's going to get fired no matter what, at that point he was like, fuck it, I'm making my feelings crystal clear on my way out. Of course, this wasn't enough for some people. Some people still say, just because it's not part of the saga doesn't mean it's not canon. Even though the answer they kept championing had Kojima saying the main story of Portable Ops is part of the saga, which implies that, to him, part of the saga and part of the canon are synonymous.
But the Portable Ops, though.
So, Hub, based on what I've told you about Portable Ops, would you like it?
No, I wouldn't. I would probably say it's a mediocre game, and while the story has its moments, the shit with Volgan and Army's Heaven just... No. No, I'm sorry. That would probably kill the story for me.
I couldn't agree more. So in our next episode, we're going to leave all that crap in San Geronimo behind and move on to the crazy, over-the-top futuristic year of 2018 with Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Now, this game I will actually play because my brother bought it a few years ago. It's on my PlayStation 3. Might as well play it. And I know for a fact that you have a lot to say on this game.
For Metal Gear Solid 4, I had 7 pages of notes. That's the most preparation I've ever done for an episode. I think I'll have a comparable amount of preparation for this game, but for the opposite reasons.
Oh boy, I cannot wait for the hate comments.
Now, going back to that Kojima interview at the University of Southern California, the video is unfortunately lost media, but thankfully I have parts 2 and 3 of this interview on my hard drive, so I was able to quote directly from it. So this is Kojima speaking, continuing his story about how he tried to pass on the series. So after Metal Gear Solid 4, I really started to think about this again. How can I escape? How can I escape? It's like he's a POW in The Great Escape. Anyway, back to what Kojima's saying. So that's when I thought, oh wait, maybe if it's a spin-off, then there may be a bit more flexibility, and I can leave that to some younger staff. So that's where Rising came into the picture, and I'm really trying to be hands-off with that game, and leave that to the new team. But of course, I also want to take the numbered series, the official canon Metal Gear, and also hand it off to someone. Now notice what Kojima said there. He's handing off Rising to the younger team, but he's not handing off the numbered series, the official canon Metal Gear, yet.
Big think. That is a very big think.
And with that, you've been listening to Autism Exchange, the only show where two Aspies share the things they're obsessed with. I'm ForceWave.
And I'm HubPie. And Autism Exchanging is just another part of the life of the average Aspie.
Have a nice day.
Bye.